everyone! Today we will be doing a fun little tag that will really expose some of my quirky habits in reading. My name is Lexi and welcome back to my channel. Today we will be talking all about the reading habits tag. I will go ahead and list the questions down below as well as the original creator if you want to check them out or try this tag for yourself. But I really like this tag. I've seen a lot of people do this tag. I think it's really fun and I love learning about other people's habits, how they read and all that other stuff. So I just thought it'd be kind of cool to do today. Let's go ahead and start exposing myself. Well, okay, actually that sounds really weird, but let's just start the tag. Question number 1. Do you have a certain place at home for reading? Kind of. Like, I have a book chair that I like to like sprawl out in and like read while I'm drinking tea, but also I read a ton in my bed as well. It kind of depends. I feel like this is like the struggles for every single reader as to like getting comfortable and staying in a position for a really long time, because sometimes if a book is good, I will just stay and read all day long if I have the time, and I inevitably have to change positions like a million times.
Switching the positions for you.
And so I try out a bunch of locations too. I don't know, do you ever do that? Do you like start in one location and if the book is really good, you end up migrating to a totally different area of your house? Let me know. Question number 2, bookmark or random piece of paper? Both. So I actually love collecting bookmarks. I have a couple that I'm absolutely obsessed with and that I talk about on my channel all the time. But to be honest, I also will dog ear my pages. I will use scraps of paper or just random, like I've used a gum wrapper before. It didn't have gum in it, but like I've used a gum wrapper before, but I will totally dog ear my pages as well, you know? Question number 3, can you just stop reading or do you have to stop after a chapter or a certain amount of pages? Okay. I have to go to a chapter. If I don't go to a chapter, like the whole reading vibe is just like thrown into chaos. And the reason isn't because of the structure at all. The reason is because every time I like am forced to stop in the middle of a chapter or something like that, unless it's an audiobook, when I open up the book again, I have no idea where I left off. Let's say I'm reading The Ravens and I have to stop like in between these 2 pages. When I pick it back up, it's like my brain has completely forgotten what was happening in the story and I have no idea where I left off. And so typically I'll actually have to restart chapters and it's just inevitably super frustrating. So I have to read to the very end, and if I don't, I usually get like really annoyed with myself because I have no idea what's happening. Question number, what are we on? I don't know. Question number 4, apparently. Do you eat or drink while reading? Okay, I love to make myself a special drink when I'm reading because I'm all about like creating a cozy atmosphere for myself. So my favorite thing is to make like a nice hot cup of tea or a nice hot cup of cocoa or coffee. Especially in the summertime, I love getting like a nice lemonade or an iced coffee or something like that. I just feel like it really sets the tone. However, I will not eat when I am reading. Occasionally, if I bake like a cookie or something, like I'll have a little bit, but not really. And the reason is because when I came back home after college, I wanted to reread some of my old books. And when I picked them up and flipped through them, this is gross, there were hot Cheeto marks on the pages. Because I don't know if you knew this, but I really love a hot Cheeto. Hot Cheetos are like my favorite things in the world, and so are like cheesy puffs. And when I was a kid, I would actually read and eat my favorite snacks. So I would have like hot Cheetos or Takis. Like I love spicy stuff so much. But like going back through the books, they were all marked with whatever I was eating. I just want to talk to myself when I was 8 years old. And I just want to say, like, do you realize that your hot Cheetos will haunt you when you are in your 20s? So because of that reason, I just do not eat when I am reading anymore. Question number Number 5, multitasking, music or TV while reading. Absolutely not. My brain, I don't think was built for that amount of complexity. Like, I mean, I forget everything. I will be talking to someone and it's just so common for me to be like, yeah, I lost my train of thought. Seeing a bird will distract me. Time I do these Instagram, oh my God, the biggest wasp of my life just like flew by. Ooh. Is this all food? How many tablespoons? Oh no, what did I do with the bag? Did I throw it away? These are bones. So when I'm reading, occasionally I will put on like an ASMR thing, as in like an ASMR room of crackling fire or a storm ambience. I love reading when it's raining. The magical vibes in that whole thing, immaculate, you know? But I don't really read while listening to music. I do like writing while listening to music, and I have several playlists for when I'm writing. But when I am reading, it's like a big no-go. I will say this, however, if you are stressed out and you wanna have like a fun time, put on an audiobook and listen to it while you play video games. Now that is like a whole afternoon of just like super funness. Super funness. Well, now that's an interesting phrase. Question number 6, one book at a time or several at once. I am always in between several books at once. I like to think of books as kind of like Netflix shows. I don't have to get through every single episode of Friends to enjoy Friends. Sometimes I'm in the mood for a lighthearted watch or read, and sometimes I want something more serious or more compelling. It just kind of depends on my mood because I'm such a big mood reader. So typically I always have a middle grade going on, I have a more serious book going on, and I have a thriller. And whenever I'm in a little bit of a reading slump, I always pick up the thriller. I don't know, but it's like kind of fun for me to bounce back and forth between all of the different books. It's not confusing, like I always remember all the characters, and if you've never tried it, I highly recommend it, just because it's kind of fun to have like all those reading options, you know? Question number 7, reading at home or everywhere. I can tell this was before COVID. So before the pandemic, I actually loved reading everywhere. My favorite thing in the entire world was to have a day off, to pack a backpack full of like 3 or 4 books, and to go to different cafes. It is so much fun to read at different coffee shops and get different things to drink, and then to go outside, or if it's raining, to do like a bunch of different places indoors. It feels like a date with your book. Actually, I did this. I did a whole series called Blind Date with a Book, where I take my book with me and I went to like different places reading with the book. So, do you come here often? You really seem like the strong, silent, mysterious type. It's cool, I'm into it. Yeah, so this is fun. Like, I love asking you tons of questions about yourself. But do you want to ask me anything, like about myself at all? I'm totally like an open book, which is ironic because you are a book, so. I'm definitely a Hufflepuff. Yeah, for sure. So I feel like if we got together, it would just be a really fun dynamic of like Hufflepuff and book. Ugh, yeah, exes. Let's not talk about that on the first date, okay? Yeah, no, I'm fine now. I've really healed. Okay, actually, let's get into it. Question number 8, reading out loud or silently in your head. The only books that I ever read out loud are poetry. I'm a firm believer that if you are reading a poetry book, you should read it out loud, because poetry books have a totally different set of rules than regular books. Poetry doesn't necessarily have to make a lot of sense, but it usually sounds very melodic. Like the harmony and the rhythms of it really sound beautiful together, and it was really made to be read out loud. So I will always read a poetry book out loud. But like I have to be by myself in my room, because I mean, could you imagine if I was just like at a park like reciting poetry super loud? People would stare and it would be uncomfortable. But aside from that, I always just read silently in my head. Of course, I like that too, because when I'm reading, I don't know if anybody else does this, but I totally, like my brain will come up with different voices depending on the character. And so if I read it out loud, I'm kind of taken out of that element because I'm just picturing myself reading it. But if I read it in my head, I literally will picture different people with different voice intonations intonations and accents reading it, and it's a good time. I love reading, you know? Question number 9. Do you read ahead or ever skip pages? So, okay, let's do a little bit of a confession time. I have actually skipped pages before. I don't really make a habit of this. It's sort of like a Netflix series where if you like skip a little bit of an episode, like why would you do that? The whole episode is entertaining, right? However, let's say that you're watching Friends and you know that in about 3 minutes, Rachel and Ross are gonna get together. Don't you kind of just wanna see them get together? So like occasionally, and it's when I say occasionally, I mean maybe this has only happened in 5 books that I've ever read in my entire book reading career, where I know that there is a part that's gonna be good, but I am going through a part that is not good. So do I skip pages? The answer is yes, but it's very rare. But the answer is yes. Question number 10, breaking the spine or keeping it new? I always break the spine. I never want to break the spine because I think that the spines look so beautiful and pretty. However, the difference between, I don't understand how people don't break the spine because sometimes like the books are just so stiff and then like, I don't want to tilt my head that way. But if you break the spine, then they're like a nice floppy paperback and that's truly lovely, you know? So I always break the spine. I don't care. I also sort of feel like there's kind of this romantic notion to books that have been very well loved and very broken in. You can tell that the person who was reading it really loved reading it. They were so interested in the content that they were okay with the spine being broken. I mean, it could be like a metaphor too for like us as people. You know, when we first start out in the world, we're like shiny and new. And then the first couple of times we get our hearts broken, we're a little bit more chipped inside. Like we've experienced some really hard things. But I feel like those things almost make us who we are. In a way, we're all books that have our spines broken. And we're just more loved and more versed in the world. So yeah. Question number 11. Do you write in your books? Absolutely, I do. I don't write in every single book necessarily, but I do annotate my books and I do write in my books. Typically, it's more like I will underline a line that I really love and I'll put like a little star or an asterisk by it just so that I remember. And when that happens, I'll either dog ear the page so I can refer to it back, or I will put like one of those little flag post-it notes on it. But I don't do this for every book. When I annotate books or when I'm writing in books, typically it's because I'm reading it for school, so I need to refer back to specific things in it. It's a classic, but it's a classic that I'm having a hard time understanding and I want to really understand it better. And so I'll take notes in the margins for things that I want to look up or things that I'm trying to interpret. Or it is a book that I am reading for a book club, in which case like I will write down questions that I'll want to ask the book club or really important quotes that I think kind of add to the theme of the book that I want to bring up later. And then the very last thing is if I'm reading a book and it becomes like my favorite book and I know that I'm going to want to remember certain things, I'll also underline and star things in the book. But you know, for the majority of the books that I read, I don't bother writing in them or annotating them, but I do annotate and write in quite a few of my books. And I think that is it. So now you know a little bit more about me and my book journey and how I like to read and what I like to do with my books. So yeah, I love this tag. I think it's so fun and I love the questions so very much. So hopefully you still like me. I know some people get really, really heated when it comes to like dog-earing pages and breaking spines, but I just really love a well-loved and well-used book. I hope my answers don't offend anyone. But that's it for right now, you guys. I hope you guys all have a wonderful, wonderful day. And until next time, you guys, keep your head in the clouds and your heart in a book. And I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye!
Always think of you when spring comes. Like it's something in the air at that time, don't know why. Always dream of you when spring comes. It's like the heat on my skin takes me back.